quick review that CONPIT is an acronym we use for the things that make good science. If we're going to call it science, the 6 items of CONPIT ought to be true, right? There ought to be consistent results. Someone else ought to be able to repeat the experiment and get the same results and do it the same way you did. Observable means it's got to be able to be detected with your senses. Natural as opposed to supernatural. Predicting is kind of the most powerful thing we ask science to do, to tell us how things are going to happen. It has to be testable. We can't just say it's up there somewhere, right? That it's sort of along the lines of supernatural. And then tentative. We can never be 100% sure of anything. We have to be open to new data, because new data is always coming in, like it or not, that it can cause us to change our theories. And then worth noting that theories are kind of the endpoints of science, that they're what we get when we've knocked down all the other hypotheses. What's left standing is what goes into our theory of, say, for example, gravity, or the way energy and mass interact in the theory of relativity. So theories are kind of as far as we get. That's your review. Now, your sheet of paper. I want you to number it 1 through 8. One through 8. And what I'm about to do is give you 8 fun facts. What I mean by fun facts are, these are just those things that, you like to tell other people because it's so crazy and it's true. Like, the human head weighs 8 pounds, or a giraffe can kick the head off a lion. That's true, by the way. These 8, though, it's your job to decide whether you think they are true, backed up by science, or false, not backed up by science. Got it? Very simple. And there's 8 of them. Here we go. Fun fact number 1. You accidentally swallow about 5 spiders every year. True or false? Good? You can write T or F if you want. Number 2. You only use about 10% of your brain. Three. Men think about sex every 7 seconds. 4. This one's kind of a downer. Spousal abuse goes way up on Super Bowl Sunday. Spousal, you know what that means, right? Like your husband or your wife. True or false? Number 5. No, you've heard this one. You don't wait a half hour between eating and swimming, your odds of getting cramps and drowning go way up. Six. Another downer. Suicides increase sharply during the Christmas season. Seven. The daddy long legs has enough poison to kill an elephant, but no way to inject it. Doesn't have the mouth parts. And finally, number 8. Over 60% of statistics are made up on the spot by people trying to win an argument. Count them up. And let's see. How you did. Let's just take a survey here. Let's start in the middle. How many of you, raise your hand, if you had an even split, 4 right and 4 wrong? So we've got, keep them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you thought that it was an even split. Good, let's go 5 true, 3 false. Raise your hand if you thought 5 were true and 3 were false. 3 of you, okay? Let's go 6 and 2, 6 true, 2 false. Raise your hands. Okay, 2 of you thought that. 7 and 1, 7 true, 1 false. Anyone? Yeah? Okay, we'll get there. Now raise your hand if you thought all of them were true. Great, let's go the other way. 5 false, 3 true. Raise your hand. 6 and 2, 6 false, 2 true. So nobody for those 2. 7 and 1, 7 false, 1 true. We had 1 person who thought that. All 8 false. Anyone? Okay. Well, let's go back. The idea here is that while you're sleeping, maybe the spiders, these tiny spiders, drift into your mouth accidentally, and you accidentally swallow them. You are a big, scary, warm-blooded mammal. Spiders see you coming a mile away. If a spider accidentally drifts down towards your mouth, they know that that's not where they want to be. That's a big, gaping hole of death for them, right? They don't want to be anywhere near your mouth. The only way this might sort of be true would be like food processing plants do sometimes get, insect parts or, roach droppings or whatever in your food. And there is actually a legally allowable limit to that kind of stuff that winds up in your food. So maybe some spider parts, but not 5 spiders a year. So that one's false. This one's funny because, I don't know, you might be using 20% of your brain right now. But when you get up and walk to your next class, you're going to use a different 20%. And, so there are times when you're not using the whole thing. But eventually throughout your day, you do use your whole brain. The idea that there's just some untapped 90% of brain power that nobody can tap into is just not true. Okay, for the next 7 seconds, I'd like all of you to completely avoid thinking about elephants. Ready? Go. No thinking about elephants allowed. What did you just think about? Elephants, yeah. Can you imagine how hard this would be to test? It's almost impossible because as soon as you ask somebody what they're thinking about, you're changing what they're thinking about, right? So I don't know if this has ever even really been tested, but it's certainly not scientifically backed up. This one, good news, is that it's not true. That in fact, that stereotypical image of the football-loving abuser who gets drunk on Super Bowl Sunday and their team's winning. Truth is, what are most football fans actually doing on Super Bowl Sunday? They're watching the game. They're actually a little bit less likely to be actively abusing their spouse. This one, you probably shouldn't eat a huge meal and then go swimming because a lot of your blood supply will be down in your digestive system helping to digest, and you might be a little tired. If you swim too hard, you might accidentally throw up, and that's gross. But the whole cramps thing, not based in science. This is kind of like the Super Bowl Sunday one. Yeah, it sucks to be alone during the Christmas season, and that could lead to suicidal behavior and thoughts. But the truth is that during the Christmas season, we are most likely to find whoever we do have and hang out with them. And when you're with people, you're much less likely to commit suicide. So it actually goes down a bit. Love this one. So many people will swear up and down to me that this is true. It is not. They are absolutely harmless. One way to kind of prove that to yourself is, have you ever met a 2-year-old kid? Yeah. What do they do with everything they grab? Stands to reason that at least a few 2-year-olds every year would put a daddy long legs in their mouth on purpose or accidentally, right? You ever heard of a 2-year-old daddy long leg related poisoning death? Because it doesn't happen, right? They are not venomous at all. I literally made that one up on the spot. And some of you probably put true, right? None of them are scientifically backed up. And yet, at least half of them I bet you've heard before. Because we love to tell people stuff like that, right? I bet you didn't know that. Makes us feel good, right? Fun facts. Here's the point. The point is, okay, well, you tell me this. What makes humans humans? That is, what makes us different than all the other animals? What do you think? What makes us different? What sets us apart? How about what body part? Absolutely. It is a big, fat brain. It's very good. We have huge brains, complex brains. We can do things like feel feelings and communicate and use a keyboard and make music and do brain surgery. That's ironic, isn't it? That's really weird that we could do brain surgery using our brains. Anyway, it's amazing what our brains can do, but it is also a weakness. Our brains are so powerful that when we really, really, really want something to be true, we tend to find excuses to believe that it's true. And the main point of all this, grab your notes, is that what science is, first and foremost, science is a lot of different things. Science is biology and chemistry and physics, and it's a way to figure stuff out. But first and foremost, when we talk about the scientific method, what it is, it's a way of knowing things with built-in safeguards so that we don't believe stuff is true just because we want it to be true. I'll say it again. It's a way of safeguarding when we're trying to figure something out. Most of the time, we have one version, our hypothesis, that we want to be the correct one. I came up with this hypothesis. I'm testing it. Well, I kind of want my hypothesis to be true. Scientific methods are ways of making sure you're not just fooling yourself because you want it to be true. Because our brains tend to do that. All right, I have a little pairs activity for you. I want you to flip that sheet of paper over. Remote learners at home, you should have either a piece of paper or a document open in your computer that's blank, so you can write some stuff down. You guys, let's see, I'm going to YouTube pair up. Don't move close to each other, but just talk to each other. You two, and then pairs who are next to each other. You guys talk to each other. You are now, for the sake of this activity, hotshot experimental biochemists. How's that sound? All right, here we go. You have developed a drug. The hard part's over. You have developed a drug in convenient pill form that you believe will cure COVID-19. Your job is going to be kind of tell me start to finish how you are going to test whether that's true or not. You're working for a pharmaceutical company, and you have to test whether your drug cures COVID-19. What you need to write down, at least one of the pair of you is going to be writing down, consider me your lab manager. You're going to tell me everything you'll need, materials-wise, right? And then what you're going to do, how you're going to set up your experiment, and then finally, how are you going to know if it worked or not? Does that make sense? You have 5 minutes. Go. I don't know where my face went. Yes. This would be a drug to actually treat it and cure it when someone has it, not a preventive, not a vaccine. Yep, good question. By the way, hey, if this is real, if you're that pharmaceutical biochemist team, would it be good for you if this drug worked? Might that make you some serious cash? So you really want it to be true, don't you? See what I'm talking about? You got to have a built-in system so that you know you're not just fooling yourself into believing it's true because you really want it to be true. So make sure you're doing that. Half of your 5 minutes is up. We both need to write it. No, one's fine. As long as somebody's got it written down. We are talking about human trials. Let's say we've done animal testing enough that we're confident that it's a safe treatment, whether it's effective or not. And so, yes, you are cleared for human trials. Less than a minute left. Oh, I can't wait to hear about your experiments. Time. All right. First of all, tell me what you need. What are the most important things that you will need in order to test your pill? Yeah. People. Test subjects. Exactly. Where are you going to get them? What do you want to be true of them? They have to be volunteers. Absolutely. You are allowed to pay them, by the way. Absolutely. The people that you get for this, you have to know that they have COVID if you're going to test whether this thing cures COVID. Absolutely. They got to have COVID-19. Do we want, how many do we want? 10? Is that enough? Man, I'll tell you what, the more the better. Depending on your budget, you're going to get as many people as you possibly can. Carissa? Huh? 100. That sounds like a good number to me. Where are you going to get 100 sick people? Hospital's a terrible place to get them. Yeah, maybe for COVID, I don't know, but I can tell you where most pharmaceutical companies get the bulk of their test subjects. You're going to find out in about 3 years. Colleges. When you go to whatever the student union or whatever at your college, I guarantee you will find signs that say, "Do you have the flu? Would you like to make $300? Sign up for this test study." I went to a small college, and there was always signs there. It's perfect, right? Because they're legal, right? They're 18 years old, college kids, so they can consent to be part of a study. But they're still pretty young, maybe not very smart decision makers. They might do something risky like that, right? They're all about the same age. They're usually relatively healthy. They're perfect, right? So, okay, I get you 100 college kids. What are you going to do now? 100 college kids that have COVID. What do you do with them? Give them the pill. Yeah? Okay. Half of them get better, half of them don't. What have we learned? No, I haven't learned anything. You gave them all the pill. You can't do that. Why not? If you give them all the pill, you'll never know whether the pill caused something different than if they hadn't had it. So what do you do instead? Exactly. You give half of them the pill and half of them not. Perfect. Now, that's called the independent variable, by the way, the thing you change on purpose between groups. I'll write that down tomorrow. Now tell me about some variables you want to manage. What variables do you want to not be different between the group who takes it and the group who doesn't? What do you want to be the same? Yeah.
I'd like the doctor to go in every 2 hours to check the vital signs and see how severe the condition is, how severe COVID is, and see if it's not that severe.
Sounds reasonable for both groups, right? So you're going to keep that the same. What else do you want to be the same for both groups? Absolutely. You're going to want to control their diets. This is why a lot of these studies, they will actually put you up in a facility where you've got a room and you've got a cafeteria or whatever. You want to make sure they're eating the same thing, right? Having them living in a similar place is key because, college students on their own in dorm rooms do crazy things. You want to control that. What else? What else do you want to be the same? Probably want to make sure they all got COVID about the same time, right? Because most people get over it. It's not going to be necessarily whether they get over it. It's going to be whether your pill gets them over it sooner, right? Whether it reduces the severity of the symptoms while they do have it, whether it lowers the death rate, which is already pretty low. Yeah, so we're going to try and keep as many of these things the same. Their age, right? Their general overall health, how long they've had COVID, where they're living, what they're eating, how much they're sleeping. Those are called managed variables. And now, if we see a difference between the group that took the pill and the group that didn't, maybe we can start to think there's some effectiveness to our pill. Except we still have one huge problem. And that problem has to do with our big fat brains. And we will talk about that problem tomorrow as we identify all the parts of this experiment, what we call the variables and the groups in this experiment you've designed. And you'll have assignment that goes with it. Speaking of assignments, your homework from last week. I will take that now. If there's more than one page, make sure your name is on both pages.
I accidentally grabbed the wrong folder for this class.